Our next speaker is Abdolhamid Shahrabi. Hamid he's educated in political science and business administration and has been engaged in political activities for a very long time. From 1970 to 79, he was a political activist in exile in the United States, fighting against the Shah's repressive regime. During this period, he contributed as a writer to Students' Message, a weekly magazine in Farsi. In the same period, he also acted as an organizer of the Committee for Artistic and Intellectual Freedom in Iran, CAIFI for short. CAIFI launched a broad and successful campaign in defense of the Shah's political prisoners, involving reputable figures in the US anti-war movement and resulting in the freedom for a number of those detained. From 84 to 90, he was manager of Solidarity publications, having published, for example, Fidel Speaks and Fidel and Religion, Venezuelan Revolution, Dialogue of Marta Harnecker with Hugo Chavez, and Nicaraguan Revolution, Sandinistas Speak. From 2007 up to now, he has been co-founder and research director of at the House of Latin America, or HOLA, based in Iran. HOLA has been involved in activities aimed at deepening solidarity between the peoples of Latin America and Iran, and it has been focused on promoting the achievements of liberation movements in the countries of ALBA. In 2021, he received the Cuban Friendship Medal, awarded by the Cuban Council of State. So we're very lucky to have Hamid here, so the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. The advantage of speaking late at a panel is that you hear what the other speakers say, and that gives you the chance to prevent repetition. And what I'm going to promise is that I'm going to talk much shorter than the time given to me, to give the time to more time for the question and answers. What Bahman spoke, his exposition on the dynamic of the Iranian Revolution and the peculiarities of Iranian Revolution relieves me from stating the same. I just endorse what he said fully. Very fine presentation explaining the dynamic of the Islamic Revolution. What really is common between Iran and Cuba, as mentioned by other speakers, is that they stood up against imperialist domination. They did that, and not only that, after the victory, they stood against the continuous aggressions of the United States imperialism and its allies, the European allies. And again, not only that, in this resistance, they became the source of inspiration and encouragement for other liberation movements throughout their respective region, Cuba in Latin America and Iran in the Middle East and North Africa. With the Iranian Revolution, what really happened was, I would rather to quote the supreme leader of Iranian Revolution as saying that the era that the United States used to hit and run has ended. That period has ended. Now, if you hit, you will be hit back. You cannot bump and run, as we saw the example after the terror of the Shahid Qasem Soleimani. The whole world witnessed the response of Iran by hitting back the US military base in Iraq. So we are talking about two very genuine, popular, deeply popular revolutions that have been successful in resisting the US imperialism and have been able to achieve success, to gain. We have lots of precious achievements, both in Cuban. I'm not going to compare and go to details, but what we have gained, the workers in Iran, the peasants in Iran in the era of Shah were second-hand citizens. They wouldn't count. They were completely suppressed. Now the things have changed. Iranian workers, I'm not saying that they're in a very desirable situation. That's another issue that we can go to it in another discussion, but the whole thing has changed. Let me give my, keep up with my promise and be brief. The second point I want to just highlight is what is the stand of the United States in regard to Cuba and Iran. Mohammed mentioned it, all these aggressions, attempts for coup d'etat, killing thousands of innocent people through terrorist acts, attempts for direct military interventions, both in Cuba and Iran, and now the most severe and the harsh weapon, which is acting like just like a military war, killing the people, the economic sanctions. We just say economic sanctions, but it would be very proper to go and deal with this and come up with a better understanding that how these sanctions are affecting the life of millions of the people, especially the oppressed people in these countries, the poor people in the sanctioned countries. Let me tell you this. When the Iranian students occupied the United States Embassy in Iran, as they called it, the spy net, one of the documents that was unraveled at that time was this. This was an instruction given by Washington to the Embassy of the United States in Iran. The instruction was given at the time that someone, a high delegates from Cuba and Iran were going to meet. And the instruction says that watch out this relationship. This is the word, this is the catchword. They do appreciate the what is the meaning of the unity of Iran and Cuba and what comes out of it if this unity becomes strengthened. The last thing which I want just to make a few words about it is that facing the imperialist aggressions against Cuba and Iran, what would be our task? What are we going? The governments are doing, the people are resisting, but we in this panel who are talking and discussing about the ways to confront this aggression, what is in our agenda? I think, to put it simply, is one-point agenda: to organize the broadest movement against sanctions. There are other ways of US aggressions against Iran, but the main axis of their aggression is sanctions. And when we look at this, although we have had valuable contributions among the two countries in regard to biotechnology, in regard to, as Mohammed mentioned, the cooperation in regard to COVID-19 vaccine and vaccination of the masses of the people. But to be truthful, we are far, far behind where we should be. We are far, let me tell you this, the fact, these are the truth. When you look at the numbers, the figures of the economic relationship between Iran and Cuba, you are close to the figure 0. I'm not exaggerating, the figure 0. Negligible cooperation. And there is a vast area for cooperation. Vast area. It was mentioned, Iran has oil, Cuba needs oil. What keeps us from delivering oil to Cuba? I tell you what keeps us from that. Interventions, influences, the right-wing capitalist, imperialist pressures to prevent such a close cooperation in terms of figures. Just look at this. Cuba has medicines that I call them the miracle medicines for lung cancer. Not only to vaccinate those susceptible to lung cancer, but also to cure those with the not very progressive stage of lung cancer. It cures that. It's proven. The medical institution of the United States, they admit this fact. It's not a claim by the Cuban government. Also, you name it, for Alzheimer, for diabetic diseases, they have these miracle medicines. I'm just mentioning one area, one specific area, that we don't have it in Iran. Why we don't have it? Is it only my knowledge that I know this? No, no, no. It's people in the government also know this. It should be demanded. This type of things should be demanded. Broader cooperation, not only between Iran and Cuba, but also between among all the sanctioned countries, with the indispensable help of China. This would be the road. This would be the concrete path that we could strengthen our forces in order to battle and confront the main axis of the US aggressions at the moment, which is the economic sanctions. I should have said this at the beginning of the talk. I sincerely appreciate the work of Arnold August for writing this book, which is a vehicle, a tool to know, to become more educated about how the United States intervenes in the life of an independent country, and how to confront that and to battle that. Also, I thank Ali Abu Talebi as the publisher of the book. A great job, like his other works in regard to translation of other valuable works, and also Mohammad Qurbani for his great contribution. Thank you for giving me the time.